Hey, we're back with Three Chords and the Truth. I'm Pete Kramer, and along with my co-host Alex Nobles of the Noblemen, Buffalo's rockin' country band, finally going to be able to start getting out and playing some live shows pretty soon. My band, Pete Kramer and the Eastwood Project, we're recording like crazy all of a sudden. And over there at Master Control, we got Sebastian DeJesus, who runs everything and makes this thing go so smoothly. He's also the host.
No doubt.
Yeah, can't leave him out. He's the host of the 42 North, 78 West Sports Show on Monday nights, which is a YouTube publication. I always member Special Spaces. I like to mention them because they're friends of mine that I would have gone to high school with. And Special Spaces, they create dream bedrooms for children who are really sick. And, you know, it could be, I don't know, Barney. I don't know too much about kids stuff these days, but, you know, they make their room their own. So if these kids have got to spend time because they're sick in those rooms, they make it special for them. So, you know, leave a comment. We really appreciate that. If you got an idea about what you think we should do about future shows, if you think I talk too much, that's okay. You can like us. You can subscribe to us. Please subscribe to the page and be informed of future shows. And, okay, I've already talked too much, haven't I, Alex?
Hey, we can overdub that too.
All right. The gentleman that we've got on tonight, he's got such an amazing bio, and hopefully he'll take us from, you know, when he started to where he is today. But he's a 3-time Grammy nominee. Now, there's not too many people that can say that. He's a founding member of the band A&L. He's the owner of Xtream Audio Mastering. And as if that wasn't enough to keep him busy, he's also the current president for the last 7 years of the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame. Please welcome Anthony Casuccio. Anthony, it's so cool to have you with us, man.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I
very much so.
I got to tell you, and I know we touched on it in the pre-show, but when Richie Durwald, he actually suggested that, you know, you might be interested in being on. I said, absolutely, sure, I'd love to ask him to be on. And I took a look at your Facebook page. I'm like, I know that guy from somewhere. Where the hell do I know him from? And then I think it was last week or the week before, you posted the A&L video that we're going to play a little bit later on. I'm like, oh, now I know where I know him from.
I'm the A from A&L. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I could be the A for a couple other things, but we don't go there.
A is the first in the alphabet. It's always good to be first.
Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, everybody that's watching, you know, you heard a little bit of what I had to say about the, you know, Anthony's bio, and why don't you just take us from the beginning, man? Because I don't want to talk too much. This is your show. You go ahead and you talk to us about what you think we need to know.
Well, like I was telling you before, I've been very fortunate to have worked on a lot of great projects, you know, from things that have allowed me to be part of a team that's been nominated for a Grammy, you know, the artist and me being mastering engineer, to, you know, doing jingles and meeting Lana via jingles that I've done. And then we just on a fluke put a song together. I was in a meeting and I'm like, I need an adult beverage. So I wrote that song, Get Me a Drink. It turned out really well. And we ended up getting, you know, some alcohol sponsors behind it. And we shot a video for that. And then that kind of took off, and that whole A&L thing, you know, 9-10 songs later, you know, after having numerous songs across 3 or 4 different charts in Europe, you know, breaking the top 10, the top 20, a lot of terrestrial radio. That was great for me to learn about the business and marketing, which for me is great because I teach that as well. I'm the chair of the music department at Villa Maria College. Mm-hmm. And to learn the back end of the business, I've always been a studio owner or behind the console as a engineer, and kind of broke out with the songwriting and then now doing that. And, you know, the paradigm, and we can talk more about this later in the show, but the music paradigm has changed so much, even in the past 5 years. So it's good to kind of live it and release music. And I've got some new music coming up that we can talk about too, to see what works, what doesn't work. You know, people aren't even downloading anymore. They're just streaming. And, you know, what's the whole social media aspect. So I think just living it and being in it is really what helps me learn. And it also keeps me excited and gets me out of bed, because there's just this whole new paradigm out there with music to try to be successful in. And I take that as a challenge, so
Well,
so I'm wearing many hats at the end of the day. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Something that you said earlier, you're a teacher, okay? I guess I didn't even know that, but you got an up and comer. What do you tell them when at this point, there's not an awful lot of money to be made like there used to be back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even in the 90s?
Well, I never want to be discouraging, because I think you can make money.
Okay.
You can't make money staying in one town unless you're a cover band. If you're a cover band, you could get in Buffalo, you could get booked a lot. You could get, quite a bit. You can be working every night of the weekend, depending on a different venue, depending on what your shtick is, and if you're a cover band, and I'm saying pre-COVID and then post-COVID. Right now, it's getting back to normal. But as an original band, it's difficult. Like when A&L, we have all these, these videos that would get all these views. We get all this radio play overseas, and then we'd play a show here in Buffalo, and 50 people would show up if we were lucky. And so you have to do a lot with promotion and promoting yourself. Now, when you're a cover band, sure, there are some cover bands that have a reputation and they draw a crowd, but at the end of the day, people are going to the venue to go out. They might go to that venue because they like it, whether you're playing there or a different band is playing there. So that's a little bit of a different. It takes a little pressure off, like to promote, work on your craft. Where if you're an original musician, you're working on your craft, you're working on your image, your promotion. But you have to leave Buffalo, and you have to, a friend of mine, Richard Sargent, who is a legend in Buffalo. He said, look at the weather map on the back of the newspaper. That's where you should be going, and you shouldn't be going anywhere other than that. If you're great in Buffalo, excellent. Now go be great in Rochester. Go be great in Syracuse. Go be great in Albany. Go be great in Pennsylvania. Make that circle. And if you get 10 people in Albany one night, next time you go back, shoot for 20. That's how you make a living. And you have to, you're going to have to be in a van and eat sandwiches and get a loaf of bread in the first couple go arounds, But if you can do it correctly and work on your social media, your email list, I tell my students, or I tell up and comers, you can do that. Excuse me. You can actually make a living selling your merchandise, releasing your music, doing that, but it's going to be a hustle, and you can't stay stagnant. You have to go out there and build it up. And I think that's what people don't realize. They think they can be great in Buffalo, but you play 3 or 4 gigs in 2 weeks. That third week, no one really wants to come out and see you anymore. So it's a hustle.
Well, okay. You mentioned now. I read on a few of the things that you sent me that you've had over 20. Was it 20 top 10s in the UK?
Yeah.
How is the business different? I mean, is the radio business that much different in Europe than what it is in the United States?
2 things. One is I found a good promoter.
Okay.
That's the truth. So I found a good promoter that helped get me to radio. You still had to have a good product to get radio interested. And we had one of our songs, "Singing My Life Away," which is it's a nice song. It's an upbeat but nostalgic song, and it did really well overseas. Okay. And they got us into the BBC. The BBC took interest in the song and wanted to actually put this on. I'm not sure if it was Radio 1 or Radio 6 or something like that. It would have been a huge break for us. Then they looked at our social media, and they're like, yeah, their social media is in the thousands. We don't play bands unless it's in the tens or hundreds of thousands of followers.
Really?
So, yeah. So, in their side, what that meant is they were going to play us, but they wanted us in return to blast out to our fan base. We are on, BBC One or they didn't see a return on the investment for that space.
Wow.
So it's not that different than here. The other thing, though, is in the UK and in Europe, the guitar is still somewhat relevant. It is not relevant here except in country music or if you're Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Our music is very pop, almost bordering on country, but more pop,
Yeah.
and over there is guitar and on top 40 is it's still relevant. Here, there's no guitar, and that's what's really hurting this business for us pop people. But it's definitely it's furthering along country. Country is one of the top genres that's in the country now. It's the number one station in Buffalo is country. Because people like the guitar.
Well, it's funny because what you just said, and I remember this has got to be about 10, 12 years ago or something like that. The band I had at the time, it was called Remember When. We were doing all cover stuff. And, I approached a club owner, and the guy, I talked to him on the phone. He says, this is exactly what he said to me. And this is a parallel to what you just told me about the social media thing. He says, I don't care if you're the goddamn Beatles. If you don't sell beer for me, I got no use for you. And I thought, that's horrible. That's like telling a chef that, okay, you can cook here, but unless you fill up my dining room. And then you're telling me that now about the social media thing. I mean, that blows my mind.
And the thing is, you can't really lie anymore. And I know these sites. I've showed these to up and comers. I've showed them to students. You can say, I got a huge list. I've got a huge email list. I'm doing this. Well, they can run a background check on you using sites like Next Big Sound, or they can see what your status is with new likes and different views and things along those lines. And you can't fib them. So they can say, can you bring 50 people to your show in Cleveland? Oh, absolutely. Well, they're going to look and see the genres and whatever it is and see who's, the clicks are coming from what city. There's a lot of back end that they have access to that keeps people honest.
All right. Well, again, I usually talk too much, and then Alex takes over the rest of the show. But let's go back to the beginning of the Anthony Casuccio story, because, like we talked about earlier, there was that one thing that I saw that it was in a print article that said, what drew you to music? And you said, I thought this was so profound. It was just so perfect. It struck me when I read it. It says, no, music finds you. And now I'll shut up and let you go from there.
I believe that. It's do you choose music? Music chooses you. It's what you do with that feeling or that drive or that pull. That's what it comes down to. And us musicians can't turn off that force or that feeling of music. And what you choose to do with it, I guess, is up to the individual. Do you go wholeheartedly towards it? Do you push it off to the side and try to push it down, or are you a weekend warrior? And I guess that's just how you respond. But again, you don't choose music. Music chooses you, and what you decide to do with it is up to you. And for me, I've gone through a lot of iterations of a career, different careers, because I just can't say no to music. Now I'm teaching recording technology and music business. I love it, but it also affords me to do my own projects. I use those projects as teaching vehicles. I've actually collaborated with students. I can't say no to music. At the end of the day, I can't. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who can relate to what I'm saying. You two in general, it's just, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to craft it so that you can be successful in it, make a living? Or if you're not, how you can at least let it be there as part of your life.
Well, you've worked with some really big names.
I've been lucky.
Well, no, I looked at your, I don't want to screw this up, the Xtream Audio Mastering website.
Yes.
You got some big names that you've worked with on there, man.
I've been very fortunate. Again, when I was in New York City, though, I worked. It was interesting. I worked with a division of Reader's Digest. Where everybody laughed. They're like, "You mean the magazine that's in your grandma's bathroom?" Well, we were the largest independent record label in the world in the 90s when I was in New York City. And what we ended up doing is we had this vehicle of all these customers. So we would team up with all the major labels and look at these hits and either remaster them or clean them up and re-release them, or we go and record, people, we give them a lot of money up front and then own the masters and record, so from being at Sony Studios working on a Roy Orbison box set, which was unbelievable, listening to the 3 and 4 tracks and hearing him talk. And then me doing all the work only for Sony to re-release it under their name 5 years later. Like,
Jeez.
what are you going to do? I have my version, you
Yeah.
know. But to hear the talk in between and listening to the producer and Roy talk, and then same thing with this Johnny Cash box set, and then working with the stylistics that were actually big in the 70s right out of Amherst on Amherst Records, and spending, 10 days in the studio with them, or going to London and working with the London Symphony Orchestra. I've been very fortunate to work with some great people that have given me an opportunity to, move forward. And that's from classical all the way to rap. I've worked with some big rap artists, on the West Coast. And I was, joking. I'm this white kid from Williamsville, who was working with some really crazy hip hop and then DJs. And, I worked with this one DJ out of San Francisco, and we were just collaborating and became friends. And he just learned to trust me. And 3 years later, in 5 top 5 Billboard, top 40 dance hits, we had a pretty good run, So his name was Barton, and he had a really sultry dance type feeling that a lot of the remixers love to work with. So I was just fortunate. Again, same thing with the Grammys and even some of the gold records and stuff I worked on. It's just, being reliable and people wanting to work with you and the trust, and it helps further your career.
But 3-time Grammy nominated. That's huge. Just to get nominated, that's huge. But 3 times?
Well, yeah. Well, I was lucky because I work with these amazing producers, and that's, so they brought me on the production end of this, and I was just lucky. 2 of them were classical based, and one of them was like a blues piano. And then I had a bunch of other projects that we were working on that I thought for sure would cross the threshold of the nominations, but they didn't, But for me, just to have that on my resume and to belong to that club, because I would go out to LA. I'm a big believer of the Grammys. I know a lot of people don't, but they don't realize the back end stuff that the Grammys do. Grammys in the schools, Music Cares, which does so many things for musicians with healthcare and addiction and needs, and Grammys in the schools and putting instruments. So, I was on nominating committees, and I was on the board of governors. I love the organization. So I got to hang out with these people who had tons of involvement in great projects. And for me, it wasn't so much about getting the nomination. I just wanted to be part of their club. I just love these people so much. I wanted to be taken seriously, which turns out the nomination didn't matter. Just getting along with them and working with the organization was what was great. And that was what was fulfilling and got me through. But I just love the organization. So I'm very lucky that I have that on my resume.
I'm sure Alex has got things that he wants to say, because he always does. We've met a couple times, Alex, right?
That's right. Yeah. Anthony, first, again, thank you for being on the show today. The one thing I want to touch on, and you actually just mentioned it, just how you said that maybe even the nomination didn't mean anything to you, but it was just the relationships you were building along the way. And it just ties in perfectly with the question I have for you regarding locally with music and with bands and those types of things. And it's kind of a 2-part question.
Sure.
One being, when you look at the current state of local live music in Buffalo, as it pertains to, say, cover music and originals, okay? And you look at those bands, how important is it for networking in the music scene with these different bands? Because I know growing up and hearing some old timers talk, especially like when blues was big in the 80s and 90s, and there was like a competition to see who could fill a house the most. Right. It almost seems as though that it's more important now to be friendly with these other bands and network and help each other out. So I wondered if you can maybe comment, 1, on and how you see the future of Buffalo music, and then 2, just how important it is to network with a lot of these bands in Buffalo.
Okay. I'll first start with the future. One of the things about Buffalo that I love about Buffalo. So I lived in New York City for 10 years. I lived in California. It's hard to play out in those states, in those areas, because all the real estate has gone through the roof. And because of that, all the venues have been sold. You know, I remember going to Cafe del Nord and seeing Lettucey, who was just recently won a Grammy, and her playing. And then 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I'm like, hey, let's go back to that club. And there's a sold sign on it. It was turned into condos, you know? And that's what happened. I mean, Sony Studios in New York City, I used to spend a lot of time at Sony Studios on 54th and 10th or 11th, right? They sold it for condos, you know?
Wow.
Buffalo has a lot of places that people can play. If you're up and coming, that you can still play. If you are established, there's places to play. That's what I love about Buffalo. I don't see that changing anytime soon. I don't think the clubs are going to go away. There's plenty of space here. There's a lot of areas that can be gentrified. And I think within those areas, they're creating performance space. Buffalo's a live music town. It's also a cover band town. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that, I'd like to see more original music pop up. And I'm hoping that after COVID and some things changing that might happen. There might be a spark of that. But I do see that I think this town is not going away for live music. I say you could play at a laundromat, or you could play at the stage, or you could play at the record. There are so many places you can play it. I mean laundromat. I mean like a real laundromat. You know, you can play your guitar. They'll hire you there for $5, or you can book a show and play, or open somewhere else in huge, you know, Canal Fest or whatever. Networking, that's my whole life. Honestly, it is so important. And wherever I am, I try to meet somebody. I try to, I'll even go out of my way and force myself to shake somebody's hand and network with them, because I think network is huge. I think you can't look at bands. There's too much competition, but at the end of the day, if bands got together and they banded together, no pun intended, I think they have more to gain than lose. And if you get two killer bands on a bill, it might be an extra $5 that they could charge per ticket. Well, you know what? That might go to the band. That might just be a lot of extra money. It might show the club owners, the promoters, that you're willing to work together with people. And I think that goes a long way. For me, I have my hat in so many different pies in the music industry. I have to network. I need to learn to meet jingle singers. I need to look for bands for mastering. I need to, look for musicians if I'm doing a jingle. There's just so many things that I need to do. And I've learned that from New York City and from, San Francisco and Los Angeles. And I preach that. You need to network. You need to keep an open mind. You need to keep a positive attitude. That's the thing that is another thing. Like, I get it. I sometimes get big-headed, or I get my feathers ruffled. You can't. You have to let that go. And you need to make friends and shake hands and pass out your business card, because you never know where an opportunity could come from, and you have to be open to that.
Well, from a Hall of Fame standpoint, are there a lot of bands in there that are inducted just because they're cover bands?
Actually, not really. There are not very many cover bands. I'm not saying there aren't, but the cover bands that have gotten in are more than cover bands. Like they've been around as an institution for 25 years, like Boys of Summer got it. If you see what Boys of Summer does for Make-A-Wish, or they give so much to charity, and they do a lot with education, so it's the whole package. Yeah. It's not just the cover band. It's the fact that they're giving to the community. They're doing a lot of other
Jimmy
things.
Weldy is a friend of mine.
And that's what,
he's unfortunately, he's not doing too well physically right now. Hopefully he's going to be getting better. But Jimmy Weldy from Boys of Summer, he's a great guy.
Yeah, they're a great band and good people. So that's what it is too. It's also what can you give back, and that's kind of what we're looking for as well.
That's a great point to make as far as giving back and just on the whole concept of the whole networking. And how important it is. You get to the old cliche saying of one hand washes the other, and it really is that. But along the way, you forged so many great relationships, whether it's, hey, we have a gig this Saturday and our guitar player is sick. Would you mind, you kind of work up these relationships. Yeah. So that's awesome. And then the whole giving back part, not only can you be, say, a great cover band in Buffalo, but to be able to give back and have and forge those relationships as well. within the community, because I think music in itself goes hand in hand with helping people. I know, in my life growing up, whether I've been sad or happy, music has played a role in helping my emotions or helping my day or whatever. And
absolutely, there are certain songs I can't listen to because I'm so emotional, because that's how music affects me, like,
yes.
But that's what it is. Music is the soundtrack to our lives. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true. It's so true. And I don't think there's very few people who would not agree with that. And they might be people who I know are like that are more involved in sports. And I'm not saying one or the other, but they're like, I remember this time in my life when so and so caught that pass. So we all have something, but I just know a lot of people love music, and it invokes memories and feelings. And isn't that what we're trying to do as musicians? We're trying to invoke emotion. We're hoping that emotion leads to them clicking the buy button. But at the end of the day, we want to invoke emotion and have them feel good. And that's part of being a musician. If you're playing out at a club, you're trying to get people to feel happy or upbeat. If you're in the studio, whether you're trying to capture that emotion, whatever that might be, whether it be happy or sad, and you're trying to create that magic and capture it. And you have to be a psychologist, you have to put your psych hat on and work with the musicians to get that. And that's what it's all about. That's why we write these songs. We're writing songs to release our emotion, So I think that's also what really brings me and draws me to music as well. Is I just love. Maybe I'm an overly emotional guy, which I think a lot of artists are. We all can probably say that, but it's a great way to express yourself.
Absolutely.
Now, Anthony, let me ask you, your current song that you didn't have a video for that you sent me, that was the cover of the invitation to go out. You want to talk about that? Then we're going to play one of your videos with A&L, and then we'll talk about your upcoming release on SoundCloud, which will be posted right here on the page. But please go ahead and talk about those. Sure.
It's interesting because of COVID. I had a lot of downtime. I mean, we all did, right? And so I think I did a song with the Hall of Fame called "In This Together," and then I did that, release that a little while ago, and that was with a bunch of Hall of Famers collaborating, doing it at home. And then I had the song. I wanted to throw my hat in the country ring, so I wanted to try to take a pseudo life experience and maybe expand upon it a little bit, out of the realm. And try to write a song that's story-based. And that's what Friends First is about. Is there some autobiographic? Absolutely. Is there, is it sing-songy? Absolutely. I tried to file, a country pattern. I love the song. I'm excited about it because I have a good friend of mine, Robin Grandin, who she does a lot with the Hall of Fame. She's a killer bass player. She played bass in a country band called Mustang Sally. I think it was an all-female cover band that toured all around the place in the 80s and 90s, or I'm not exactly sure, but I know it was a well-known band. She did the harmonies for me to give it that country feel. She knocked it out of the park. I have Gino Morazza, who was a killer drummer out of Toronto, played drums on this. And then I did everything else. So I'm excited about that song. And I hope people check it out. If they go to my Facebook page, Anthony Casuccio Music, it's plastered. It's on anywhere you can download music. You can check it out. And it's like crossover country pop, and I'm having some fun with it.
And who did the cover photo for that? That's a really cool picture.
Robin.
Really?
She does amazing graphics. Like I said, she does all the Hall of Fame graphics and website. Killer bass player, killer harmonies, killer singer. She's a great songwriter herself. And we do a lot of collaborations. So she helped me out with that.
Okay. All right. Well,
so it's
you want to go ahead and cue up the video that we're going to play, and then we'll all shut up for a little bit while people watch A&L for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Right?
Sure.
You want to go ahead and cue it up, Anthony?
Sure. So this song is about 2 years old, but it's something I'm very proud of. And it's still relevant today. It's called, We Are Love. And it's just about loving your neighbor, loving your, whoever it might be. Right. And so we were able to get a lot of stock footage. We have a live, as people will see, but it crosses a lot of different social areas, and I'll leave it at that. And at the end of the day, it's just like, listen, man, we all just have to give each other the benefit of the doubt and just be a little bit nicer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and listen to A&L. Hey, we're back with Anthony Casuccio. Thanks for joining us tonight on Three Chords and the Truth. Again, we've got Alex Nobles, who I promise I'm going to let him take over the rest of the show because I've talked way too much. I probably didn't even let Anthony talk enough. So,
Pete, you already put 50 cents in the machine. You still have time.
All right, you guys go. That was a great video. Love the song. And you got a new one coming out too that unfortunately it was only on audio, so we couldn't get it out. But with any luck, we'll be able to have you back again with some video of that stuff. That'd be great if you are so inclined.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm like I was saying, I was nervous about 45 minutes, and I'm like, this time's flying. I'm having so much fun. So
it's always what happens. It always happens that way. And then it's like you get to meet a new friend that you just kind of just dig spending time with. So. Okay, I'm going to put duct tape over my mouth, Alex. Go ahead.
It's going to hurt taking that
know,
off, Pete.
I know.
One of the questions I had for you, and it was awesome. You mentioned this earlier, and especially in today's day and age when it comes to Facebook, and it does tie into our networking discussion. You had mentioned when you guys were doing some work over in Europe and talking with the BBC, and they were saying you need thousands of likes. And I remember starting up in a band and a guy telling me, well, if you guys can get over 100 likes, maybe we'll book you. So hearing you saying, in some other country, you need X amount of likes and things like that, how important does a platform like Facebook or say Reverb Nation or something like that play in any type of a musician's career, whether they're a cover band or like you guys do the original music?
Social media is a huge part of both cover or original or whatever it is. You need social media. I don't want to say one is better than the other. Young kids are not on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
They're
so
on
I've
Instagram.
learned.
Yeah, right. I don't know that. No, they're on Instagram. They're on Twitter, Snapchat. So you need to be on all of them. And I need to practice what I preach. I need to start a new Facebook page, or not, sorry, a new Instagram page for my personal stuff, but it's just going to have like 2 followers on it. So I'm afraid to do it. I need to do that. And you need to be on Twitter, and you can sync all those up through different programs where you can make one post and it'll populate all of them. Some advice is don't buy followers, because one of the things that I talk about when you have a social media is you want to use the metrics. You want to look and see, how's my ad doing? How are my posts doing? What posts seem to work with my fan base on certain, different social media platforms? And when you buy fake followers, you're not going to get any results.
Right.
So Facebook sends out your post to 2% of the list because they want you to hit the boost button and pay $5. Well, if the majority of your list is fake, then you're sending it out to fake people and not going to get any return. How are you going to get an accurate metric of what your post is doing? So I preach about that, and I see people. I'm like, how can you have all these views or all these people, but then they have no likes? So you need all the above, and whatever new comes out, whatever platform that is, you want to get on that as well, because that's what people are looking at. And it's very cost effective. Taking an ad somewhere is very expensive. Taking a $5 boost on your Facebook or Instagram post or something like that, you can reach a good number of people, and you can be very selective on where you want to target those people, neighborhoods, zip codes, music style. So if you really get into it, you can make your ads more efficient or your posts more efficient. And I think that does help the little guy. That helps, level the playing field for the independent musician. I think that's great. I don't think many people take advantage of that, though.
I appreciate your commenting on the whole buying of likes. Really just on the standpoint, if you're a band really trying hard to make it, whether it's locally or big, I think it does take away from the feeling of, let's say if you have a band that has 1,000 likes, which are true hard worked likes, as opposed to say 1,000 likes that maybe you bought some of those.
Right.
You can kind of look at that like, well, not all of those are true likes.
Correct. Yeah. And you didn't earn them.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. It's not like putting a roof on your house and driving up every day and saying, I did that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing, another part of that equation. I talk about super fans with my students. And I don't know if you have heard this expression. If you really want to make an impact and make it, you need super fans. Now, what is a super fan? A super fan is a fan that whatever you post, they're going to like and they're going to share it, they're going to comment. So you need, and here's how you get 10,000 fans. You get 100 super fans. But it's not easy to get those super fans. You got to start with 3 super fans. And then you got to start with 10 super fans, get to 10 super fans. Those 10 super fans might help you grow your fan base to another additional 1,000, 2,000 people, and then you might get a couple more super fans. But then you have to reward those super fans. You have to shout them out. You got to say thank you. You got to send them maybe share their post or send them a sticker or something. But if you can get 100 super fans, they say, and those 100 super fans are a great foundation to get you to 10,000 fans on whatever platform you're on. So the idea is you can't do that by purchasing likes. You have to earn those fans, and you have to earn those fans the hard way, just like any other musician coming up through time, going out, staying after a show, signing autographs.
Sure.
Listen, even if you only have 50 people in your club, go out and shake their hand and thank them. Call from the stage, check out our social media, do these things to try to build up. That's where you're going to get, there's little tricks with that. Hey, everybody take a picture and post it and tag yourself on our page.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do. And you need, all the social media, and you don't want to buy it, and you just want to earn everybody's like and fans. That's what it comes down to.
I really love this conversation, and I know we're getting close to that infamous time where we say it's time to cut it. But this is great because it segues into one of my last questions. Sure. Still on the topic of Facebook. And you mentioned earlier, when it comes to musicians, just staying positive. And certainly it can be difficult in today's day and age, whether you post a picture of you on vacation or of your band. In today's day and age, everything is so centric on how many likes you get on Facebook. And as a musician, you may put out a cover song that you've put your heart and soul into, and you post it, and you maybe only get 20 likes on there. What can you say to the musicians out there that may be feeling down and not positive, and could be related to the amount of likes they're getting on Facebook?
Keep going. That's really what it comes down to. One of the things that I notice people do is they're one and done. They post it once. They get 20 likes. That's it. Well, that's not how you work a record. If you think about how a record is released in the industry, it has a shelf life of about 6 to 8 weeks before it's canceled, right? Yeah. And that's even for the big names or small names with record labels. They push it. So find out ways to re-release it or post it again. It's okay to say, hey, you might be getting sick of this, but not everybody's saying this. I want to post this again. Post it on all your social media, and then send it out and ask your friends or your family or your fans to share it. One of the things, and I'm guilty of this too, I never ask. Why not ask your friends to go out and share this or like this or vote for you? So you can't be one and done. You need to keep going and push that song and give it some time. Give it some time to marinate and resonate, and keep going. Too many one and dones.
Absolutely. I appreciate that very much. And it's a great sentiment that at the core foundation of any musician, and we talked about this earlier, how music finds you. Yes. And it's very rare where, someone just kind of jumps in and says, I think I want to try this out. And it can be so easy for a musician that at their core or at their heart, music is everything, just to be completely turned off by it because they didn't get enough likes on Facebook or something like that. So I really appreciate your insight on that. Thank you.
I'm glad to share it. And I hope people listen to that and realize, keep going. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely.
No, I have to agree because, I'm on a lot of Facebook songwriter pages, and it just baffles me how you'll see this post that I'm a songwriter. How do you do it? I'm like, you write a song.
Write a song.
Yeah.
Hey, I can guarantee, even Lennon and McCartney, their first songs weren't that good. We all been there. You gotta keep going. Yeah. That's what it comes. What it is about.
Now, there's I'm sure both of you have, but there was that the history of the Eagles Part 1 and 2, and Glenn Frey riding around with Bob Seger, and he says, you got to write a song, and Glenn Frey says, what if it sucks? He says, it's gonna suck, and you just keep on writing. That's what you have to do, and clearly Glenn Frey wrote a lot of good songs in collaboration with whomever, but no, it's very cool. Yeah, and like Alex said a couple of minutes ago, we're getting to the point where we have to kill this a little bit. But I talked to Anthony before. I hope that we're talking about trying to do, of all the people that have been on the show already, this is Richie Durwald's idea. I'm not taking credit for it, but we're going to see if we can have everybody that's been on the show on a Zoom meeting where all these musicians who may or may not know each other can all talk to each other. And how cool would that be? And I'm not going to limit that to 45 minutes because that might go on for 2 hours, 3 hours, who knows? But
count me in. I'll be there.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. That would be great. I would love that. Next week we got Marsha McWilson, which I'm pretty sure that Anthony knows Marsha. She is a riot. I spoke to her on the phone in a pre-show thing. That lady is so funny. I wish I could meet her in person, but I don't know. Really cool. Again, leave us a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll let you guys say anything that you want to do to end things out.
Pete, I've got one more question. I always like to end with a fun question.
Nice.
Sure.
Especially with musicians. So Anthony, this is for you, and then Pete, you can answer afterwards if you would like. It's a two-part question. Anthony, the current collection of guitars that you have now, what is your favorite? And then the second part is, what is your dream guitar? If someone just wrote you a blank check, said, go get any guitar you want, what would it be?
Wow, that's a tough question. Well, first, I have about 14 or 15 guitars. My favorite, I'll show you. I have it right here. This is my favorite right now. If you can see it, it is a no-name guitar that someone built. And I just love the blue look, the color of it. And I put a hot rail in it. So there's that. I have a 78 Antigua Strat, which I don't play anymore because it's actually worth some money. So, and I do like that PV Tully that I have. If, I want to get like a really high-end Paul Reed Smith.
Oh yeah.
That would be my choice, or possibly like a high-end semi-hollow body Gretsch.
Oh,
with like a Bigsby, maybe gold, So that's my choice.
I love those. Pete, shoot.
Well, I'm more of the throwback to the, I was a little kid back in the early 70s with the singer-songwriter era. And, I just dug the acoustic guitar. I love my Takamine. I call it my workhorse.
That's a great guitar.
Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know what it is, this thing has got such a great sound. When I went to the Guitar Center that day, I was looking, at Taylors and Martins and stuff like that, and they were, in the $2,000 range or up. I picked this thing up, it was like $600-700. I'm like, this thing sounds better than anything. Then I got the Martin 12-string, and that I really love. But my dream is a Rickenbacker.
And you said it correctly.
I know. Everybody says Rickenbacker.
I really want a Rickenbacker.
No, I'm more of a strummer than a picker, so that's why I like what I like, and I've probably got, I don't know, a dozen, but that's my go-tos and the dream.
You can never.
There's no limit.
Right, exactly.
I told myself a couple of years ago, I'm done, and then, well, there's also the Rickenbacker.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, Anthony Casuccio, this has been an absolute great time talking to you. I'm so glad that you said what you did about it's like, oh, the time's flying by, because it always does. I mean, it's just always a lot of fun. But again, we got those other two things with the Zoom thing. We'd love to have you, and we'd also love to have you come back again, because I'd love to play some more of your music, some more of your videos, and if you would be so kind to indulge us.
Absolutely. I'll keep you posted. Like I said, I've got this EDM project that I'm going to release in the beginning of the summer. And, I'll keep you posted on that. I'm hoping to have a video with that.
Cool. That would be absolutely
awesome.
Great. And again, if you got any ideas for future shows, go ahead and, make some comments on the YouTube page. And I think with that, Sebastian, I think we're done. Thank you, Anthony. Good night, Alex.
Thank you very much.